And welcome back to Never Done Ask with me, John Martin. And we have another station review. From Whalley Bridge in Derbyshire, we move on to Whalley in Lancashire, a station with a much more spectacular bridge, or viaduct. Think there is a pattern emerging about where I'm going to go next? Then leave a guess in the comments, and if you're right, I'll give you a shout out. Meanwhile, let's hit the titles. The station sits on the B6246, which is called Station Road on the east side and Mitten Road on the west. Access to the station is via stairs from the road. However, the southbound platform can also be reached by a cul-de-sac called the Sandings, although it seems to be called the Arches where it meets the road, near some arches. To the south, the railway crosses the valley of the River Calder via the viaduct. This isn't the River Calder that runs through Yorkshire. That does rise pretty close to it because naming is hard. We are on the Ribble Valley line between Blackburn and Clitheroe. Clitheroe is 3¼ miles to the north. Langho is 2⅓ to the south. The line still goes through there, but the station got closed. From the beginning of the line opening, however, the company lacked resources to operate independently, and services were worked by the much larger Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, one of the dominant railway operators in the region. The original company did not remain independent for long. In 1858, just 8 years after the station was opened, Blackburn, Clitheroe and North Western Junction Railway was formally absorbed into the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, bringing Whalley Station under the L&Y ownership. Under this company, the line was further developed and integrated into the wider network, linking Lancashire's mill towns with major cities such as Liverpool and Manchester. In the late 19th century, Whalley became a modest but important local stop, handling both passenger traffic and goods from surrounding agricultural district. The Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway itself became part of an even larger system. In 1922, it merged with the London North Western Railway, and just a year later, in 1923, it was enlarged into the growing concern that was the London, Midland and Scottish Railway, part of the grouping that mandated by the Railways Act of 1921. From this point, Whalley Bridge Station, operated by the LMS, one of the big four, dominated British railway transport between the wars. Nationalisation followed after the Second World War. On the 1st of Jan 1948, the LMS and the rest of the mainline railways were taken into public ownership under British Railways. Under British Railways, the Whalley station considered to serve the local passengers, although like many rural stations, it faced declining usage in the mid-20th century as car ownership increased. The line through Whalley survived, despite the widespread closures of the 1960s, often associated with the beaching cuts, and although services were reduced, the station was closed in the 10th of September 1962, which was actually before Beeching released the reshaping of Britain's railways, so we can't blame Dr. B for this one. But it goes to remind us that while the Beech gets the blame for all the cuts, there were plenty of cuts before and after him as the railway was rationalised. A turning point came in the 1990s when there was renewed interest in local rail services. 29th of May 1994, the station, along with others along the line, were reopened. The Ribble Valley line was revitalised and Whalley Station benefited from passenger services returning to the line. Since the privatisation of British Rail in the late 1990s, the station has been operated by a succession of franchise holders. Today it is managed by Northern Trains. We have two side platforms here, both 75 metres long. Access between the tracks involves steps down and underneath the line. The Department of Transport class this as an F2 category station, the least used category of station. Marks for services, 2 out of 10. General off-peak service times are 1 train an hour in each direction between Rochdale and Clitheroe. Heading north, Clitheroe is 6 minutes away. Heading south, Blackburn is 18 minutes away. Bolton is 50 minutes. Manchester Victoria is an hour 10. And Rochdale is an hour and a half. On Saturday, there are a few additional services from Rochdale onto Ribblehead on the Settle and Carlisle line. Settle is 37 minutes away, Ribblehead is 55 minutes. This is handy for locals who are bored of their own spectacular viaduct and want to go and look at another. Sunday service is 1 train every 2 hours in each direction. From the 24-25 figures, we have the most popular destination as Manchester Victoria with 14,252 journeys, followed by Clitheroe, Blackburn, Salford Central and Darwin. Overall, annually we had 81,118 entrances and exits, giving us 222.25 passengers a day. There are 261 services scheduled in a week on average, giving us just under 6 passengers per service. The 24-25 figures were up on the previous year, which was down the year before, which was up on the year before. Anyway, we're about level with pre-COVID figures, which are a bit off from their peak in 2012, 2013, but aren't we all? Another note here is that we have 4-car trains on this line, but the platforms at Clitheroe, Lancashire and here can't service 4-car trains. But the services that terminate at Blackburn run as 2-car services. No idea. If you know why, add it to the comments. Marks for onward travel, 1 out of 5. The main bus route here is the 5 from Clitheroe to Ribchester and the village of Chipping. This is generally hourly, but there doesn't seem to be enough buses, so occasionally there is a larger gap. There are of course a couple of one-off school buses. Marks for accessibility, 4 out of 10. We're an unstaffed station, but there are announcements and displays. Access to the southbound platform is via a separate stairs from street, but also level access from the road. However, it is a fairly steep climb. Northbound platform is only accessible by another set of stairs. A further set of stairs at the south end of that platform leads to a passage under the tracks to link between the platforms. There is another random way out exit sign on the northbound platform, but it doesn't seem to be located by any visible exit. Mark for station facilities, 3 out of 10. There aren't a huge amount of facilities here. We have a fair supply of seating, including covered seating. We have ticket machines, we have bike storage, and we have a small car park. Marks for care and character, 13 out of 20. This is a reopened station, so it is worth comparing with Tutbury and Hatton that we visited 2 weeks ago. Check out that video if you haven't. Both were reopened at a time when the need for new stations was there, but the willing to pay for them wasn't. So we have minimal fundamentals to base it on. What we have here is a station without a station building, rather grim set of stairs to reach the platform, and chunks of the platform that can't be used. However, there are people here who have cared enough to put the work into the planters to provide the artwork and the local maps for visitors. It feels more substantial, more permanent than Tutbury and Hatton, more of an old school station than a cookie cutter station that sprung up in the past decades. But that comes at the cost of accessibility and modern facilities. Marks for nearby things. There are 2 major things to see here. The first is the viaduct over the river. If things had worked out better, I'd have had some drone shots of steam trains over this video. But the wind's very high, and also the timings of the trains coming off the Settle and Carlisle line were, let's say, varied at the least. We were expecting quarter of an hour delays, and then suddenly the train appears around the corner. Still, it's a really impressive structure. We also have Whalley Abbey and its gatehouse, as well as a church dating back to the 7th century. There's not a lot facilities-wise near the station, the centre of town being half a mile away. If you live nearby, what would you recommend? Overall, we have 28 out of 65, which drops out at 43%. The station feels much older than it is. The facilities and accessibility aspects of it are not befitting a 1990 station. Service is what you expect from a small line with a few settlements on it and Clitheroe at the end. However, especially at weekends, there is much more scope for leisure traffic. Quite a few excursion trains pass through here, so maybe come visit, climb a hill, get some photos of the excursions running over the viaduct. And the question I asked at the beginning, where am I going to review next? Put your suggestions, your theories into the comments. I will thank you once again for watching this video as I travel around the country. Please like, subscribe and ring that bell to be notified of the next station review.